Chapter 13. When Joachim woke up on December 13, Mama and Papa were already in his room. "You get to open it, Joachim." Joachim sat up and fished out the folded piece of paper. The picture in the calendar showed a rainbow. He sat up in bed with Mama on one side and Papa on the other. They leaned over to see. Mama began to read. The Sixth Sheep. A party of monks who were on their way from the Val d'Aoste one day in June in the year 998 saw a group of pilgrims for a short moment, just as lightning sweeps across the sky, flooding the landscape with light for a second or two. "Look!" exclaimed one. "What?" said the other. "I thought I saw a strange procession on its way down through the valley. There were people and animals, and behind them all ran a little girl with an angel." The third monk agreed. "I saw them too. It was like a heavenly host." The monk, who saw nothing, shook his head in disbelief. "Are you sure you can stand the thin air up here?" he asked. He said because he had looked down at an azalea at the instant that the pilgrimage passed by. 4 years earlier, a party of merchants from Milan had seen the same thing as the two monks. They had been a little further down the valley. The godly throng stopped for a little while to enjoy the view of the beautiful Val d'Aoste. Epheriel pointed out Mont Blanc and the sharp peak of the Matterhorn. Elizabeth was more interested in studying the Advent calendar that had been given to her by the governor of Syria. She pointed at door number 12, on which there was a picture of an Advent calendar. "Can I open the doors in the tiny calendar as well?" Quirinius shook his head. "Unfortunately not. The calendar is sealed with 7 seals. Dixie!" Caspar cleared his throat, and so did Balthazar. "As wise men, we can reveal what is inside all the same. Something mysterious is written in tiny letters." "Tell me, then." "Behind the first door says Elizabeth. Behind the second says Lisbeth. Behind the third said Isabet. Then come Sabet, Abet, Bet, and Et. Those are the first 7 doors." Elizabeth smiled a wide smile. "And what then?" "After that there's Te, Teb, Teba, Tebas, Tebasi, Tebasil with an E. Then there are only 10 doors left." "What's behind them?" "Elizabeth, Lisbeth, Isabet, Sabet, Abet, Bet, and Et." "But there are still 3 doors left." "Behind door number 2 is written Roma. Behind door number 3 is written Amor. And behind door number 24 is Jesus, written in a very beautiful artistic lettering. One letter is red, the second is orange, the third is yellow, the fourth is bluish green, and the fifth is indigo violet. That makes all the colors of the rainbow, for Jesus was like a rainbow." "Why?" "When it had been pouring and the sun breaks through the dark clouds, the rainbow appears in the sky. It's just as if a little bit of Jesus is in the air, for Jesus was like a rainbow between heaven and earth." Joshua lifted up his shepherd's crook and struck a stone with such force that it echoed down the mountains. "To Bethlehem," he said, "to Bethlehem." And it was as if the mountain replied, "Lahem, Lahem, Lahem." It didn't take long for them to reach the Po Valley. That is the fertile valley land formed by the great Po River, which flows from the Italian Alps in the west to the Adriatic Sea in the east. Epheriel told them that they would be going the same way as the river. They traveled through lush countryside until the Po River met another big river called the Ticino. That was near the trading city of Pavia. Epheriel told them that the angel watch showed 904 and that Pavia already had a law school that was famous throughout Europe. Joshua was about to strike the ground with the shepherd's crook, but Jacob the shepherd spoke first. He pointed down at a large raft lying in the river bank. "We'll borrow that." So the large procession of pilgrims jumped on board. As they were about to push off, a man came running towards them. "Accept my sincerest offering," he said. So 6 sheep had to be crammed together on the narrow raft, and when they were out in the river, Quirinius said to Elizabeth to open door number 13, and behind it was a picture of a man carrying a sheep. When Mama finished reading, they sat on the bed for a while. Lahem, 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 she started singing. Sabet tebas, said Joachim. He surprised himself. There it was again. John had in fact mumbled half of Elizabeth's name, and he'd never thought of it before. Then he said the other half of her name backwards. But why had he done that? Papa had something to say, too. If only I could find the flower cellar. Maybe we'd know how the Advent calendar was made, and why. I'm sure it's so as to spread the glory of heaven, said Joachim. I believe the magic Advent calendar is a small part of the glory of heaven that is straight down to earth. Up there it's so full of wonderful things that it's very easy for them to spill over. Mama and Papa laughed. It was only after they read through the folded sheets of paper that they understood why Joachim had said so many strange things recently. I'm thinking about the 3 monks in Val d'Aoste. Papa and Joachim looked at her. We're sitting here almost like those 3 monks. Joachim could no longer keep his secret about meeting John. It was as if this was the last secret that was exploding in his head. John was at the gate one day when I came home from school. He got our address from the man at the bookstore. Papa jumped. Why didn't you tell us? Well, I didn't think it was important. He only wanted to know who I was. But what did he tell you? Papa said impatiently. He must have said something about the calendar. He said it wasn't Christmas yet. Then he said he'd tell me more about Elizabeth another time. Papa nodded. I'll drop by the market again today. I intend to meet this John, even if I have to lasso him. But when he got home, he just threw his hands in the air, gone, as if the earth had swallowed him up. All afternoon, Joachim repeated 2 names inside his head, Elizabeth Tebesile, Elizabeth. One name was a reflection of the other. But when Joachim looked in the mirror, he saw himself, though the picture in the mirror was reversed. Could it be the secret message that the 2 Elizabeths are one and the same person? But Tebesile sounded like a proper name. Could there be someone called Tebesile as well? That evening, Joachim lay for a long time staring at the ceiling before he could relax, and in the end, he had to get up and write something clever in his little notebook. It was something that he had seen inside his head. He wrote, Sabet tebas, Sabet tebas, and it made a window as if in a magic Advent calendar. That's chapter 13. I love you.